I just recorded a video on like VPSs and email, and this message was the kind of starting point for this video. I mean, I should probably have already put it up by the time you see this one. So, I mean, but this doesn't matter. What I want to show you in this video rather is how I edit this video about this topic. So, and generally how I record videos, how I edit videos, how I do all that without an actual video editor. And I've made a video in the past about like MPV and how to cut video with it. But I have since I released that video, I have greatly changed and improved my kind of workflow, you could say. I still use MPV for video cutting, but I will show you how I do it. So, okay, so let's just go through it. So I have a terminal right here. Let me make this kind of centered. So I have one script to start video recording. I have one to stop video recording. I have one to post-process videos. And then I have one to then I have the kind of MPV video cutting workflow, and then a final script to put all those cuts together. So I've not really, I haven't really thought this video through. So I thought I would just go through it. So how it all works, what's kind of the kind of center point for video recording is tmux. So it's a terminal multiplexer, which is very nicely because you can script a lot of stuff you would otherwise do manually. So I have one shortcut to start video recording, and that is, I mean, for me it is super plus R, and this is bound to the following script. It's in my local bin start recording, I think it is. So it's this one, start_recording.sh. And in here is not really that much. So what I always do is all of my recordings are identified by a timestamp. And this is just the year, month, day, year, month, day, and then hour, minute, second. So it's just a normal timestamp. Then I have a temporary directory. I mean, it's not really temporary. It's it's permanent, I guess. But, I create this directory where I put the recording, because not all recordings end up as videos. Some of them are just for testing my microphone or whatnot. So yeah, all of these go in here, and then the timestamp. So I make the directory, I switch the directory, and then I call this record in tmux.sh script. And this is now the script that's really relevant. And yeah, I'll get into that in a second. And then at the end, I echo this state. So this timestamp up here, I echo it into this file. So, and if we look at that, you will see this timestamp right here. And this is for the video I'm recording right now. So for this one you are seeing right now. So, and if we now look at videos temp and then this timestamp, we see, oh, there are two files here. And I'll get to in a second why two. But first, let me go into this tmux. No, what was it? Recording tmux.sh. So this is kind of convoluted script, and there's a bunch of legacy stuff I haven't removed yet, but let's just go through it. So this script takes two arguments. So the first one is kind of a argument to differentiate between recording a screencast, as I'm doing right now, or recording a camera video, or recording camera footage. And I've made a video on that as well. And then the second argument is just the ID, and the ID is this timestamp I've shown you. So first we kind of we create a session name. So this is just ffmpeg underscore and then the timestamp. Then we create a new tmux session with this session name as its session name, I guess. So we do that. Then we check if the first argument is cam, and if it is, we do the whole kind of video camera footage recording thing. Again, I've made a video on that in the past. You can watch that if you're interested. And otherwise, we simply do a screen recording. And now this is the command we actually want to run. And we use tmux send keys to kind of type this into the tmux window. So, and we use Control M to kind of send enter, I think it is. So yeah, I mean, I've just this Control M. Yeah, at some point I've copied this off Stack Overflow or of some example or whatnot. So yeah. Okay, so then we select a window of our tmux session, so that it is session:0 for the first window. Then we split this window horizontally, so that's what we do with tmux split window and H for horizontal. And then we get our microphone ID. So I have another script, so let me open that up actually. So, oops, not this. So let's do this. And this just does some ELSA thing. I mean, this is a kind of terrible convoluted script till I get a microphone ID. And that is just because I use ELSA and not Pulse audio. And for ELSA, I use ELSA CTL info. And if we do that, you see a bunch of output. And yeah, I just kind of grab what I want. So I have a, what's an SC something? Yeah, SC450 USB. And then I get the ID somewhere out of here. Yeah. So, I mean, you can kind of go through it if you want to, but yeah, it just gets the ID. So if we run this, we will get, I think 1 it is. Yeah, so 1. So let's get back into here. So this is 1, and this is just because ELSA doesn't have like permanent identifiers. So if I actually plug in my microphone, my USB microphone, before I turn on my computer, sometimes it gets like ID 0, and yeah, that's kind of annoying. So I just did that. And then, so we are now in a second, like in a split window, and I'll show you in a second how that looks, how it actually like looks and works. And then into the second window, we send another like command, and that is this time the audio recording, because this only records video. So this one right here, and this also only records video. And the reason why I do that, why I split my recordings into video and audio, is because I think I've mentioned that in the past in some video, because I'm recording this on a ThinkPad X200. And I mean, the ThinkPad X200 is quite old at this point, and it can't really handle, at least for me, I don't know why, it can't handle simultaneous like audio and video recording. So if I try to record video and audio in like one ffmpeg command, the audio gets kind of split and kind of scrambled up. I don't know why. So there are like tiny mini pauses in between, and yeah, I mean, that's not something you can fix in post-processing. So, but if I do it with this, it works just fine. So yeah, that's just how I do it. And this is also the reason, if we look for the ls command again, why there are 2 files. So this is from the video recording ffmpeg command, and this is from the audio recording ffmpeg command. And if I now tmux a, so tmux attach, I actually get attached to this like actual recording. So this the processes which are recording this video right here. So, and if I press Ctrl BS, which is just tmux shortcuts, you can see we are in this session right here with this identifier. And there's a second session which I'll get into in a second. So yeah, this is what's happening right here. And now to stop this recording, I also have a shortcut. It's, I think, Super Control Shift R. And this calls the local bin stop recording. So this script right here. And I mean, this is also quite simple. So we get the current recording ID. Then we select that, select the pane. So let me do this again. So this is one pane on the left, and this is a second pane on the right. Windows and panes are kind of different things in tmux. So whatever. So we send Q then to this first pane. So and Q just tells ffmpeg quit, like be done, we're finished. And then for the second pane, or for the, well, first pane, I guess. So this is the second one, this is the first one. We do the same thing, and then we echo the empty string into this file, and we're done. So pretty simple. And again, the reason I do this is to have these recording files be the same length. Because if I do this by hand, the recording files are always different length. Because I can't like simultaneously send Q, like I would have to press Q and then press Ctrl B O to switch to the other pane and then press Q again. So, and by using a script like this, it's actually very nice because this does it automatically and simultaneously. So that's why I do this. All right, so that's for recording. So after recording, I will have 2 files in this directory. So I mean, and if I do L, you can see these files are actually, well, they should be increasing in size, but I guess they're not because, yeah, I don't know. Oh, this might be not the, no, I don't know why they're not. All right, but oh no, they are increasing in size. So as you can see, so this is smaller than this. So, because I'm recording. So, let me do tmux a again. And now let me switch to this other tmux session. So this is a previous tmux session, and this is where I recorded the other video I mentioned in the beginning. So if I ls, let me ls here, and let me kind of clean this. So you can see again two files, and these now do not increase in size because there's no running processor here. So this is finished. And now, what I do after I have recorded a video is I call another script of mine. And this is now where things get a bit more interesting, maybe. And this is the post-process. Oh, I have this window. Oh, I have this open on another workspace. Let me close this. So this is post-process video.sh, and I have another version of this script for camera videos. So if I open this up and let me kind of do this, you see there are a few things I run. So, and I mean, let me kind of separate this. So these two are just legacy stuff I keep in here for whatever reason. So I do three things here. So the first thing is I sample my audio file to be mono audio, so one channel, because by default it will record two channels, or at least that's. Yeah, so this is something I've this has kind of been experimental, I want to say, because, I mean, you can do this with ffmpeg, and I have done it at some point, but at some other point I have had problems with it. I mean, you know how it is, and it kind of doesn't work, and with this it did work, so I just kind of kept going with it. So I use SOX, or SOX, which is kind of a Swiss Army knife for, like, audio editing. And I just remix it to be one channel. And I saved this one channel version of my audio into audio_onechannel.ogg. And I only do this if there is no such file. So if I run the script, because if I run the script once, I mean, everything's fine. But if I run it again, this would then, if I didn't have this part right here, it would overwrite this file if it is present already. So, and I don't want that. So this is only run. So what this says, if you're not that sufficient, or if you're not that if you don't know shell script that much that well, this is a condition, and this basically says, okay, if the file so -f is check if this file is present, is what I want to say. Check if this file is present, and if so, do nothing. This is what this or says. So either this file is present, so this condition is true, or so if the file is not present, run this command right here. And this is the same logic in all these three lines I have here, or well, in all these lines, but only these three are relevant, which are not commented out. So, okay, second one is now, okay, so we take this one channel mono audio file, and we now want to clean it, because there's always some noise. I mean, I guess that's the case for every microphone, or for every microphone, I guess, or for most, at least. So I create this audio_onechannel_clean file, and again we check if it is present. If it is not, we then run this command right here. So SOX, then the original audio file, then our output file. So when we run this the first time, this will be present, but this will not be. And then we run the noise red, so noise reduction command, and pass this file right here. So if I go down up to the right here. So I have this noise profile file, one channel, and this is just an audio recording where I say nothing, where there's just silence, or well, where there's just noise. So this is an uncleaned audio recording, and this is so the program knows like what to remove and what not. And I pass this .23, and this is just the kind of, I guess, intensity of how much is removed, or how aggressive the program is. All right, so I do this. So now I have this file, which is mono audio and which is cleaned. So which has its noise reduced or removed. And then the final step is this line down here, and this will create merged.mkv, and this will now merge these two files. So it will take video.mkv and this cleaned and monoed audio, and it will simply merge them. And again, this is kind of something I've copied somewhere from Stack Overflow or whatnot. And yeah, so this is what this does. And if I quit this, and now I'm still in this tmux thing, I mean, that's not relevant, but I'm in this directory is what I want to say. And if I now run this, this will take a second. So first there's no output because socks doesn't give you any output. But in a second you will see the ffmpeg output of when it merges the audio and video. And yeah, so I might just cut forward when this is done. Alright, so the merging or the cleaning of the audio and the merging of the audio and video files are done. And if I now ls, you will see all the files I showed you in the script. So the final one we actually care about is this merge.mkv. So this is the actual like full video. So, and this is now of course uncut. I mean, yeah, this is just the raw audio and video files put together, and yeah, that's it. So what I now do is I cut this video. And what I use to do this is, as I stated in the beginning, I use MPV. Yeah, I use MPV to cut the MKV files. So I just do MPV and then the merge.mkv. And if I open this up, it will open up MPV. So yeah, and I mean, so now because I use ALSA, I can't show you or well let you hear any audio, but I mean this is not really relevant for cutting, I guess, or for this demonstration. So yeah, I go through this website and whatnot, and yeah. So let's say I want to make a cut, or no, rather, let me start differently. So if you just use MPV as is, you will not be able to cut any video. So either you use the method I showed in the older video about cutting videos with MPV, but I wouldn't recommend that because that is kind of, I found that to be very annoying. Because with this method, you can't really edit your cuts. I mean, you can of course press a key and then kind of skip forward and then press another key and it will cut the video, but you have to be sure about your locations where you want to cut. And you can't, and I often had it that I was like kind of annoyed in hindsight. Well, I should have cut maybe a second earlier or whatnot. And now you have to like re-cut this video, which is very annoying because, well, it takes processing power, and especially on an older machine, you don't really, like you don't want to deal with that all the time. So what you first want to do is have like kind of a plan for cutting. So have all the timestamps of all the things you want to cut and how you want to put it together, and then have your computer actually execute on them. At least that's the method I came up with. So I have a few MPV scripts which I use. So if I switch to the scripts directory right here, and let me change the font here. So I have two I actually use. I mean, the third one I just didn't bother removing. But the ones I actually use are chapters.lua and visualizer.lua. And I don't remember where exactly I got them from, but I will kind of pull it out. Like I will search for them in the internet and put them on the website, or also in the description of this video. So if I can find them again. So chapters.lua is for adding chapters to your video files, which I'll show in a second. I mean, it's a Lua file. I mean, it's an MPV extension. So yeah, I'm not gonna go through this. It has its own like logic. But if you skip to the end, you will see no, these are not in here. But if you go to, or if I go to input.conf, these are the key bindings. So there's a key binding for adding a chapter, for removing a chapter, for adding a chapter, blah, blah, and so on and so forth. So that's one script I use. And the second one I use is visualizer.lua. Oh, and this actually has where I got it from. So this is for visualization and I've edited this pretty heavily, if I remember correctly. But let me explain why I use this and what I use this for. So the chapters thing is pretty obvious. You want to be able to kind of make cuts or kind of remember timestamps, and that is what this chapters thing is used for. But again, I'll show you all of this in practice in a second. But this visualizer thing is now for the following. If you use a normal video editor, for example, Kdenlive or whatnot, you of course have a audio visualization built in. And this is very useful because oftentimes you want to cut on audio. You want to cut between like sentences you speak or whatnot, or even words, or I don't know, stuff like this. So, and sometimes you want to be very precise because you may need to you want to cut before some noise or something like this. And it's very nice to have a kind of visualization for that, because if you only go by the actual audio, it's kind of annoying, because if you skip frames forward and frames backwards, you don't really have audio, and that's what this visualizer is for. Alright, so let me show you all of this in practice. So let me put this here, and let's just, I don't know, go here. So to add a chapter, you again press N, and it will create an actual MPV chapter. And you can also then use all the normal MPV things to work with it. So for example, these buttons right here, if I right click on them, it lets me select the chapter, and then it jumps to the chapter. So let's put another one right here. So I can also press exclamation point, and it will go to the previous chapter, or I think add it is, and it will go to the next chapter, and stuff like this. So this is very nicely integrated with MPV. So, alright. So I have these two chapters now. Let's say I want to write this file, because this is now only in the running MPV process. This is nowhere on your disk at this point. So you first need to write this, and you do this with capital N. And this will tell you chapters written to, and then this file. So if I actually look at that, so if I ls again, we now have this merge.mkv.ff metadata. And this is actually now the important file which we care about, because in this you will see all of your chapters. So all of your, in the end, cutting points, or at least in my end, how I use this. So we have this one chapter from this timestamp to this timestamp with no title, and the second chapter from this timestamp to this one with again no title. And to now remove a chapter, we can press Control. Oh, let me put it on screen key actually. So hello, does this work? And yeah, okay. So let me put this up here, I guess. So to now remove a chapter, we can press Control M. Again, to add one, N. To write this file, so to save your chapters, which you want to do all the time, because otherwise if I press Q now and I have chapters which I have not saved to disk, they will be gone. So N to save it, and you will get this message. If you now want to edit the name of a chapter, and this is a bit important, as I will show you in a second, because how I have written a script to then automatically cut these chapters, and how sometimes I use chapter names to specify something. Again, I will show you in a second. So how you can, but this is also this is good for yourself to know, okay, what did I want to do with this chapter, or what does this signify? So control dot or control period will give you this prompt at the bottom here, title of the chapter, and we can name, or let's call it important name, I don't know. And if I now press right click on this again, you will see, oh, I have 3 chapters and one of them is named important name. Okay, great. So if we again write this, and if we quit this file and open it up again, we can see this chapter in the middle here with title important name. So I mean, yeah. Alright, so, and I mean, there are a bunch of more things which this script can do. It can also write XML and TXT and whatnot, but again, I only used basically these 4 right here. So I don't use these bottom 4. But you could probably, maybe it's even easier to write a script which uses XML if you translate it to XML. Well, I'm digressing. So that's what I use to kind of set my chapters. And again, sometimes I want to, so how I will, let me think, how should I do this? I will show you the script which I use to parse these chapters in a second, which will then create the script which will actually run ffmpeg to cut all these. So, but let me first show you something practical. So let's say I want to delete something. Let's say I want to delete this. Well, no, wait, I totally forgot something, and that is this visualizer thing. So audio visualization. Let's say I'm right here, and let me left click on this so I can see the milliseconds, and I can now jump a frame forward with period, jump a frame backwards with comma, and so I can be very precise. But again, this is useful for visual cuts. If you want to cut on, let's say I'm like somewhere here I navigate to another page or whatnot. I don't know, and I kind of want to cut this. Yeah, right here. So I can either go frame-wise, I can also go second-wise by shift and then the arrow keys. So shift left arrow key will go 1 second backward, shift right arrow key will go 1 second forward. So let's just do this. So let's say I want to cut before I navigate to this page. So yeah, right here. So if I now go frame-wise, you see, like somewhere here it's gonna happen. I'm gonna click the button. So yeah, and here it's gonna switch the page. So let's say I don't want to show this for whatever reason. So now I'm before it. So next frame, if I go 1 frame forward, is the new page. So let's say we want to cut here, and then we want to cut whenever this is done. So let's go forward, forward, forward. I can also go like I think 15 seconds or what it is forward by hitting the normal arrow keys. So yeah, somewhere here it is. I mean, yeah, let's just cut here. So, and let's remove this for demonstration sake. So let's say I now have these 2 chapters which mark the beginning and the end of something I don't want to have in my video. What I now do with my script, and I'll show you the script in a second, is I name this with D for delete. So what this says is delete everything from this chapter, which is named D, to the next chapter. So basically just delete this D chapter. So, and if I now write this again, and switch to this one, again we can open it and we can go through it, and there's this D chapter, for example. But so, and let's say we're done with this. So we have cut our video, it's all fine and well. Oh well, let's add one more cut here at the end. I don't know, for example here, and we also want to delete this final like last thing here. And yeah, so we're happy with this now. It's all in our head how it should be cut. We've deleted we've named all the chapters with D of parts we want to delete, and so on and so forth. So we're done with this. We can now quit it. Now, again, all we have is this FFM metadata thing, and now I have another script. Let me kill screen key again. So goodbye screen key. I have this. What is it? No, I have. This is not in my local bin actually. This is in, I think, here. Yeah, this one right here. So again, you can see it's kind of all organically grown. So this is t1.sh. I don't remember where this name stems from. Again, this is a shell script, and we do a bunch of stuff here. So this is actually a bit convoluted and yeah, a bit complicated. So what we do is we grep for all the chapters in this FF metadata file. So, and let me run this actually. So let's do this. So what we here have is we basically remove, if I cut that out, we basically remove all this annoying stuff. So chapter, we don't need this chapter in curly brackets. We also don't need time base. Like we don't need this stuff. Like what's this for? What is this for? Like this is verbose, irrelevant stuff. So what we care about is start and end and the title. So that's what we do by running this. For whatever reason, grep inserts these hyphens. We don't care about these, so we remove them with this command right here. And then if I go forward on the script here, then we remove start and end. So we remove these strings right here. We don't care about that. And also title, we don't care about that either. And that, yeah, this is for, so these timestamps are not something ffmpeg can understand. ffmpeg will think these are seconds, I think it is, or something. So, because this includes a millisecond like thing. So these are milliseconds, but ffmpeg will not understand this. ffmpeg will only understand it if we run this set command, which will replace the last 3 digits by a dot followed by these last 3 digits. So let me think, let me run it like this. So let's say we have this again, and then we call set, and then this command right here. So yeah. So now this command inserts these dots at the end. So now these are timestamps which ffmpeg can actually understand. So it understands seconds, okay, and then milliseconds separated by the dot. Great. Then we call readLine, and this will now read the first line. So TS1 is timestamp 1. Then we also read TS2, timestamp 2, and then L3, I don't know, well, line 3, I guess. So yeah. Okay, so again, this organically grown script, you know how it is. So this may not be, or is probably not the nicest way to do it, but I now get the two parts of a title. So why two, you might ask? Because like the first part is that's how I thought it through in my head. The first part is kind of the command part. Okay, what do you want to do? So for example, D, if this is D, then delete. And this is what it does right here. So it checks if the first part of this title command is D, and if so, it does nothing. Well, first up, we check if the file is present at all, and if so, if it is present, we do nothing. So this is the same logic as in the other script. And if not, we do the following. So let me actually make this a bit bigger again. No, not that. This. So again, we check if D. If so, we delete it. We do nothing. And if not, we. So it's kind of hard to explain all of this because there's so much stuff which is like implicitly there. So I have another command I respect or I use, and that is O. And O is for overlay. So I also added into the script the possibility to add an overlay to a clip. So to overlay some clip with some image. And this is what the second part is actually used for. So if the first part is O of the title, then we look for the second part, or rather we simply call this ffmpeg command, which creates a video clip from our first timestamp to our second timestamp with the second argument of the title line, so of L3. So this is what this cut does. So this will get the first part, this will get the second part, separated by white space. And we will tell ffmpeg, okay, use this, whatever this is, .png, and overlay it over this clip. I hope all of that makes sense. And then echo it into, and we don't actually run this mpv command. This is kind of the fun part, or the good part about the script. We don't run this command, but we simply echo it into our cut.sh. And I will show in a second how that looks then. And then we echo, the actual like mkv file into the mylist.txt, and this mylist file will be used at the end to concatenate all the cuts we made. Yeah. And if the title is not, like, if the first part of the title is not D and is also not O, well, that's all the commands I have here. we simply echo the ffmpeg command cut from, cut to, input file. So this is from, and this is the timestamp, the first timestamp, this is the second timestamp, so 2, input file with -i, and then the output file, which is just the timestamp of the start timestamp of the video clip, so of the clip. And we echo that into cut.sh. And then again, we echo the file name into mylist.txt. Alright, great. So, and this is commented out again because this is legacy stuff, and I just keep it in here for, I don't know, sentimental reasons. No, I keep it in here so I can remember what I have tried out in the past and what didn't work or what did work. So yeah, I just keep it in here. Alright, but this is not relevant. I mean, this is commented out. So, great. So far so good. Let's actually run the script. And it doesn't even have execution permissions. That's how organically grown this all is. So let's run it with sh. And it runs instantaneously because it doesn't really do anything, like any heavy computations. It simply parses this ff metadata file and creates a new or two new files. And if I now look at these files, so lsltr, we see there's this mylist.txt and there's this cut.sh. Mylist.txt is actually pretty boring. It just houses all the files of the cuts which should be concatenated in the end. So this is only for ffmpeg. this cuts.sh now, this is the interesting file. And because it houses all the actual ffmpeg commands which should run. And this is kind of boring now, because there's not really much in here except like simple cuts. Let me see, where's the... So, also what it will do, I should have mentioned that, is it will delete the first, like it will not respect the first part of the video, because there's no chapter. It will only respect chapters. So, yeah, so this is the starting point of the first chapter, so this is the first thing in the video, so the first video clip. It's from here to there, then the second one is from here to there, third one is from here to there, and then in between this cut, or this chapter and this chapter, you see there's actually a gap. So this is to 480, and this then only starts at 5.4. So, and in between here is the chapter we deleted. We specified with D, with the D in the title. So that's how this works. And if I had now, well, let's actually do this, why not? So let's do this again. Do this again. So let's say I want to have, over here I want to have a overlay. So let's again control period to change the name or the title. And then for the title of the chapter I want to name it O for overlay, space, and then the name of my PNG file. So let's call it, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, hello, whatever. So, okay, let's call it like that. Let's save this again. So this is now saved again in merge.mkv.ff metadata. So if I now run this TS script again, I don't know if it will actually override it. And remember that part. Yeah, it will override it. No, it will not override it, but it will simply append to it. So this is not good. So these were in before when we ran the script the first time. So we need to delete all of these out. So all of it is still the same, except for this long line right here, which specifies this hello.png thing as an overlay. So there we apply this filter again, copy this of some Stack Overflow post, and yeah, I don't know what all of this does. This is just some ffmpeg magic. But if we run this, we will have a overlay, and we can now, let me think, how should I do this? Let's take a screenshot of my whole screen, I guess, and if I now copy this to my clipboard, let's right click. Oh, we also need to adjust the mylist thing. So let's delete all of this out because it only appends to it. And let's copy this. No, let's copy this to hello.png. All right. And if I now run this cuts.sh, it will find this hello.png and it will put it as a overlay over this video clip. So let's just run the script. I think I also need to run it with sh, and I will skip forward to when this is done, because this will actually take a while, because it will cut the video files, but it will not like simply copy the, I don't know how it's called, copy the frames. No, not the frames, but what I want to say is it will re-encode the entire video because it cuts precisely. Yeah, if you don't know the difference in ffmpeg between like copy cutting, I think it's called, and like precise cutting, then yeah, this probably makes no sense to you, but it re-encodes the entire video. Okay, so I will skip forward to when this is done. Okay, something I totally forgot. I mean, I think I mentioned it twice now, but I wanted to show you the audio visualization thing. So that's what I now want to do, because I just remembered while I started the cut.sh script that I want to do this. So I showed you how to like kind of navigate by frame, and that's all fine and well. But again, sometimes you want to navigate by the audio. So what I can do is, if I turn on screen key again, is if I hit now C, this will put me in a different kind of mode, or in a different kind of visual thing. So this will basically activate the visualizer.lua script, which I showed you before, and this will now create this nice graph right here, where I can see the audio. And I don't know what this is exactly called, but it visualizes the audio. So these white parts right here are the parts where I speak or where there's noise, and the parts where there's complete black is like, so black signifies silence. So for example, right here there's very much black. So this is something where I could now do a good cut. So a cut that would not kind of cut mid-word or whatnot. And with this, you can also navigate by the comma and period. So if I do hit comma a bunch of times, you see that this black part back here kind of goes back, because we're kind of going back in time, or going back in the video. And I can also do it with like shift arrow, and then I can also go forward. So this is very, very nice. The only thing, if you use this, you have to be careful, because this, if you look at the frames, this actually, or the milliseconds right here, this has more precise frames, I guess, than the video, because it's the audio file. So I can actually go by like 10 milliseconds right here, and if I switch back to the video by hitting capital C. Oh, this is kind of big. Hello. So let me make this smaller. Again, capital C to switch back. And if I now go frame forward here, you will see it will actually skip like 40 milliseconds. So yeah, and you can only, of course, do cuts on these timestamps right here. So yeah, that's something I always have to keep in mind. And there's also another mode. So this is one visualizer mode. And there's also this one right here. So these this bar, I guess, which shows you the volume or whatnot. So yeah, and if I do C again, it will do this normal, it will show the normal video again. So yeah, this is, so I mainly use this to cut based on like audio. So, and it's very nice. I mean, it's not as nice as a full-fledged like video editor, of course. I mean, I can't click in here and like go to where I want to go. I kind of have to navigate like with keys or whatnot. And yeah, and also it overrides the what it has already like shown. So right here you can see it overrides the stuff it has kind of put on the screen, and it kind of like little annoyances like that. But like for me, it's fine. Like this is enough to cut based on audio, like to make precise cuts. And yeah, so it's great. I really love this, and I'm very glad that something like this exists for MPV. It's very nice. Okay, so now I will let the cut.sh script finish, and then I will skip forward to when this is done. Alright, so the script is finished, and what you can now see is that there are these cut files. So these are the chapters we cut out of this merge.mkv. And again, the file name is the starting timestamp. So if I now actually open this up, you will see it's a video, and it's only 2 minutes something long, because that's the length of the chapter. Great. And like somewhere in here, let me go through these, should be the video we overlaid. So this is the one, yeah, so this is the one we overlaid with the screenshot I took of yeah, of this window of my desktop, I guess. And I mean, this is now a very boring example in some sense, because this isn't really this is a full screen overlay. I mean, this is just a static image in the end. But because this uses PNG images, you can of course like create a PNG image that only has like one section of the image actually be like colored and the rest be transparent. And I mean, yeah, that's how you can, for example, overlay text on the screen, and well, do anything you really want to, like blur things out and whatnot. Like, yeah, I mean, you can think about how this is kind of very powerful. And again, this is a kind of stupid toy example, but this shows that it works. And I mean, the other two are also just like small, like chapter things. So here I scroll through this page or whatnot, and here I think at the end here so after this I would have switched to this register page, but if we, let me loop this with capital L. So if I now go to the end here by hitting dot repeatedly, you can see, so I now click on this. Oh, and this is, so it looped back to the end, but it doesn't actually switch to the page because that's where we cut. So we cut after this, and then this is the final video clip. So yeah, I mean, again, it's just going through these. All right, so again, if we now look at the my list thing, we can see all of these files which we just looked at are in there. And if we now want to concatenate them, concat, where is it? We use this command right here, and I've not put this into a script somewhere. I just always search for it in my shell history. Yeah. All right. But it works because I use ASH, and that actually keeps my shell history, unlike bash. And so what I always do is I name the final video file file.mkv for obvious reasons. And what we do is we call ffmpeg. We use the concat function command. As an input file, we give this my list.txt. And this is why the lines in this txt file need to have a certain format. So they need to be in the format file, then a space, then a what's it called? Quote, so single quote, then the file name, and then a single quote again. And then we specify copy to copy all the content of the files, and so to not re-encode the entire file. And then this is the output file. So if I run this will actually be pretty quick, and it's already done. So, and we now have our final MKV. And if we look at that, whoops, we can see all our like chapters concatenated together. So for example, here's the chapter with the overlay thing, which kind of starts here in a second, and so on and so forth. So all of these just get concatenated together, and that's it. that's all this final step does. But then you have your cut video. And yeah, so I think if you've done any kind of shell scripting, maybe a bit more complex shell scripting, or if you have thought about shell scripting, you can pretty easily see how this is very powerful. For example, let's say I want to kind of change my chapters. I can either change them by running mpv merge.mkv again, or by changing them in this text file itself. So I could even like automate the changes, because this is just a text file. It can be operated on with normal tools like set and awk and grep or whatnot. I can also change it in cut.sh, so I can actually change the ffmpeg commands that get run, or I could just copy this one out and run it myself, or edit it or whatnot. But I can also run like extra commands, or even like import these single chapter snippets into an external program, for example, an actual video editor or a color grading program or whatnot. Or I could apply extra ffmpeg commands on them. For example, I've thought about like doing a kind of speed forward effect or whatnot on like single things. And I could also add this to this T1 script. I could make more distinctions down here, or kind of rewrite the script in an actual programming language. But I could probably hack it together in this shell script. And so on and so forth. So there are really a lot of possibilities, because it's all quite simple in the end. Well, simple in quotes, but yeah, if you think about it, I mean, it's way simpler than a video editor. I mean, try changing something in a video editor, or try automating something in a video editor that the video editor doesn't give you facilities to do. So I hope you kind of get my point. So I think I honestly really like this workflow. I have edited all the past, I don't know, pretty much maybe a few videos after the last video about the MPV, about cutting videos with MPV. I kind of developed this with time, and it's been really great. Like, it has saved me a lot of time. So one last thing I want to say, because this is all shell script, you can of course like do whatever you want at any point. So what I've also done is so for example here, in this command, so I first run this cuts.sh. So this creates all the cuts, or this creates all the snippets. So before that, I of course manually went through the video and created the timestamps and whatnot, and all this kind of stuff. But then or not but, and then if this is successful, I run the concatenate thing, and once this is done, I send a XMPP message to my account, which just finished. So this is German for finished. So that's the kind of stuff you can do. And I mean, I make no distinction between so I have the semicolon here, so I make no distinction between success and failure. I guess you could even improve on that. But this is just because this cut.sh might take some time because it re-encodes all of the video snippets. So I may want to do something else somewhere else and just want to be notified once this is done. So this is the kind of stuff you can easily, trivially add if you build on shell scripting. And I mean, good, this program XMPPC, this is of course not trivial now, but again, it's a shell utility, or well, not shell utility, but it's a normal program you can call and which you can integrate into your shell script. So this just shows again the power of shell scripting and why it's great for automating stuff. All right, so I think that's pretty much all I wanted to show in this video. I have not kind of put together all these scripts and released them anywhere. I may do this, or I will probably do this if I have time. And I will also kind of put the audio visualizer and the chapters, Lua, MPV extensions in there as well. But yeah, I would urge you to because this is not for my workflow. This is for what I do with videos, and this is from kind of what I need. Because you might look at this and say, well, this is kind of trash. I mean, you can, for example, what I can do. I mean, there are lots of limitations to this. So, for example, it always hinges on kind of the assumption that video and audio are always synchronized, and you might not want to have that. Because maybe you say something somewhere in the video, but you want to have a different video snippet overlaid over that and stuff like that. So this is a big example, and something that has also been, at some point I was like, well, I should have this, but it's fine. You kind of learn to accept these kind of limitations I found, and it's actually a good thing. Limitations like these can be a good thing because it kind of forces you to kind of not rely on them, if that makes sense. So yeah, so one example would be if it's easy and trivial to cut out parts of your speech and kind of hack your video together too much, because it's not that trivial with this. But if it were, you might be tempted to kind of do jump cuts all the time. So if you say something you didn't want to say or something like that, you might be tempted to do jump cuts. But yeah, with this, it's not that easy to do something like this. So I have kind of adapted by not saying and all the time. I mean, I say them sometimes, but I've kind of tried to remove this from my speech because it would be a pain to always cut around that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I would recommend you to watch my video on what was it called, freedom through limitations or something like that, where I stand in front of a whiteboard and explain kind of my thoughts behind that in terms of also computing minimalism or something you could call it, I guess. So yeah, all right. So that's pretty much it. Again, I would urge you to just think about what problem you have at hand and try to solve it through simple means, or by also reducing it in complexity, as I've done with this video process. So yeah, that's it. Have a nice day.